Now, I first saw Mr. Holland's Opus on National Cinema Day in 1996. This was when it ran for about 3 years. Every cinema in the land charged just £1 to go to see any film. And I saw From Dusk Till Dawn in the morning in Swansea, which may be coming up a bit later in this series. And it was a choice then between seeing 12 Monkeys again and Mr. Holland's Opus, and the latter was a film that a friend of mine had seen, and she said, well, it's a bit trite and it's a bit sentimental, and I thought, well, in that case I'm definitely going to go and see it, and it paid off. It was a remarkable film. It did reduce me to tears, but it's about a school teacher who becomes a teacher in order to make money, but what he really wants to do is write his opus. He wants to write an orchestral score, and he never quite accomplishes that because he gets so caught up in the world of his students and the demands of being a teacher, where his real passion comes to fruition, that he neglects the one thing that he ironically entered the profession in order to be able to accomplish. And it's an incredible film, really, because it sort of raises all those questions about whether our dreams can be fulfilled. I mean, it's one of the questions I ask in the nostalgia interviews: have you fulfilled all of the dreams that you had from when you were young? But in some cases we take on and build new dreams, and I think that's what happens to Glenn Holland. Oscar nominated performance for Richard Dreyfuss, and similar perhaps to Forrest Gump, it's spread over the period of a number of decades, and we go from the young school teacher who would rather be anywhere else to somebody who's so sort of almost institutionalized at the end. Except, and this is the caveat, he ends up having to take early retirement because there's no budget anymore, there's no money for teaching music, and he says, well, okay, you can take music out of the curriculum, but if you do that, what's left? You've got math and you've got English, but there's nothing to read about or to want to study anymore. And I think he was really saying that sometimes there are some subjects that may not have the same sort of utility, and this is a big debate that we have all these many years later in the humanities, but at the end of the day they have intrinsic value, and we should not just shirk them because they don't carry the same sort of cash price as some of those more utility oriented subjects. Great film, Mr. Holland's Opus.